All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome back. And today we'll be discussing about Nifty at 24,353, and we'll be discussing about many other stocks HDFC, ICICI Bank, Wipro. So, more insights from SEBI-registered research analyst Arjit Garg. Arjit, thank you so much for joining us, and let's get started without any further ado.
Absolutely, and what an amazing day in Nifty today. Let's quickly start with how did the markets really do today. So Nifty closed with gains of 0.65%, approximately 150 points rally at 24,366. So the provisional closing was 24,353, but the final closing has just come in, and that is 24,366. Talking about Sensex, once again, we have similarly here as well, we have closed with gains of 0.65%, 500 points rally at 78,507. Here, the provisional closing was 78,493, but after final adjustments, we have the final closing at 78,507. Now, the interesting thing to see here is, especially in Nifty, we have closed near yesterday's high. So yesterday's high was 24,400 and we have closed barely 40 points away from that at 24,366. Now, this is an awesome rally, and this tells us that if we are challenging yesterday's highs with positive momentum, with bullish candles, this means that there is something cooking in the Indian market. Something good is going on. So let's quickly dive into what's really happening in the market and why are we rallying today. So the first reason is the FII selling has reduced in the previous sessions. If we quickly look at the FII DI data here, last session we were talking about FIs confusing the Indian retailers and confusing the markets. One day they were buying, the other day they were selling, and the other day they were again buying. So ये क्या है? एक दिन buy, एक दिन sell, एक दिन buy, एक दिन sell. They're trying to confuse the markets, right? But yesterday we saw that on April 16th, we can see here the FII activity was net positive. They were positive with 382 crores worth of money being pumped into the Indian market, just in index futures. So this is an awesome data for us to tell us that okay, there's strength coming back in the Indian markets, right? The second point is FIs have been putting in money at the very bottom of the Indian market. If you look at on the FI data again, 10th of April, they had put in the money. 10th of April, where were we? Where were we? 10th of April, we were at the top. That is when they had put in the money and then they were exiting. On 13th of April, once again, they put in the money. We were absolute at the bottom. Bottom se rally aayi hai, that is when FIs were putting in money. 15th of April, they sold it, and that is when we were at the top. And yesterday's session, once again, they've put in the money when we were falling. In the falling market, they were putting in money, which means strength is now coming in the Indian market. The third reason is there is absolutely no bad news around the global markets, around the global wars that are happening, around the global sentiments. Everything is not good, but there's nothing bad, right? Remember the days when we used to talk about if there's no bad news, then it's a good news. Well, that is the same factor that is being applied in the Indian markets right now. There have been a couple of days now. There's no news that Trump is going to bombard or start any new nuclear war with Iran. There's no news from Iran that they are going to retaliate or they're attacking other Middle Eastern countries, or maybe they're closing Strait of Hormuz, or they're attacking to open the Strait of Hormuz. There's no such news in the markets right now. Even if there is, there's some chintu mintu news that people are not really paying attention. Nothing major as such has come in front of people around the world, right? So the news regarding any of the global markets or the war, there's no bad news around, right? So that is again giving us a boost. Like okay, there's nothing bad, which means there's something good coming up. So that's also giving us a push. Another reason is the rupee strengthening. If I just quickly look out for the USD INR pair that we've been talking about a couple of days for a couple of days now, we are seeing rupee strengthening in, and now against US dollar we are at 92.85. Yesterday's session, I clearly remember we were around 93.4, 93.3. This rupee strengthening has come because of three core reasons. Number one, again, because there is no bad news for rupee to react. So there is no bad news, that is why rupee is strengthening. Second reason is FIs and FPIs are constantly putting money in Indian markets. See, Indian rupee कब strengthen होगा जब foreign money will enter the country. When foreign money will enter the markets, that is when our rupee will start strengthening, right? So there's no bad news. FIs are putting money, and at the end of the day, the crude oil is also falling. We'll quickly look at crude oil as well. If we look at MCX futures here, crude, we are seeing that the crude is falling 4.3% down today at 8,480, 8,475. This is also a positive thing, not just for our markets, but for rupee as well, right? So three big reasons why the Indian markets have been rallying is because there's no bad news around the global wars. FIs are putting in money, especially at the bottom levels, and the rupee is strengthening. Another reason, something that I just remembered, the India VIX. See, India VIX is the volatility index of the Indian market. VIX हर country का होता है. US also have their own VIX that is called the US VIX. Japanese market they have their separate VIX. Similarly, India also has its own volatility index, which is India VIX. Now, we are seeing here India VIX have made its high at 28.9 rupees on 30th of March. Ever since that day, ever since that level, India VIX has been falling. Now there are two ways you can look at it. The first way to look at it is from the eyes of an option trader. People who trade options. Call हो गया, put हो गया, या फिर if you are creating strangles or strategies around options. Basically, if you're trading options, falling India VIX is a big negative for you. You should be under stress right now because India VIX is falling. Why? Because India VIX क्या denote करता है? India VIX tells us volatility. Volatility कहाँ से आती है? When there is uncertainty in the market. So if there is uncertainty, volatility will increase, and volatility is something that drives option prices higher. See, options को क्या चाहिए? Option, they want entertainment. They want something hot almost every time. That is when option prices start to rise. Be it call or be it put. I'm talking about all the options right now. If India VIX is falling, this means that the masala from the global sentiments is gone. If the masala is gone, there's nothing hot in the market, option prices would not rally. And there would be a price decay in every option that you trade. So, as an option trader, falling India VIX should be a concern for you. But for people like us who are into equities, who just want to mark the levels and make sure that the markets go well, and we have to mark the levels for Nifty. For us, falling India VIX is a very good sign. Falling India VIX for us is a positive because there's no volatility, there's no uncertainty. So we can be assured that wherever the market goes, the market is safe now. ऐसा नहीं कि कल को आके कुछ नया न्यूज आ जाएगा, कुछ फट जाएगा, एकदम से गिर जाएगा मार्केट. ऐसा नहीं होगा. The chances of that happening is very low. This is denoted by India VIX. So that is why falling India VIX is a big positive for us. And finally, the another core reason why the markets are strengthening, and something which is giving confidence to our retail investors, is the result season. We all know April आ गया तो March end के जितने भी results है quarter four के, all of those results are coming up. So we already had the Wipro's result out yesterday, and the results, the entire analysis was there in the markets today. But over the weekend, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, and after the post-closing, post-market session in the evening today, we have HDFC, ICICI Bank, and Yes Bank results lined up, right? Yes Bank is a stock जिसके बारे में not a lot of people talk about, so we can avoid that. But HDFC Bank and ICICI Bank are heavyweight stocks. These two stocks have the power to move not just Bank Nifty, but they can also move Nifty significantly. So if the results are good, then you can expect this positive rally to continue in the market. But अगर इनके result हल्का सा भी ऊपर नीचे हो गया, and if the results are not very good, then you'll have to buckle up for another pullback from here at the current levels of Nifty. Right? So these are the primary top five reasons why our markets have been rallying from the past couple of days, and why we saw a strong rally today as well. Vipadam.
That's correct. In fact, now we see India VIX going down and there is no news in the market. But then again, tomorrow is a weekend and you never know what happens over the weekend. So let's look at Google News and what is your view on the weekend that is going to happen?
Sure, let's look at the global indices. Let's start with our Asian peers. The Asian peers were all negative today, which gave us a gap down today. So if you look at the chart on Nifty 50, if I just open the intraday charts at 5 minute time frame, hold on just a second. Today is 17th of April, right over here. Right. So we saw a negative start to the day today. हल्का सा positive था, but then we saw a dip and then we saw a nice rally forming here after this double top pattern. So right, why was this negative rally? Because our Asian brothers and sisters are Asian peers. The Japanese index was down 1%. Hang Seng was also down around 1%. Taiwan again around 1%. Korean markets 0.5% down. Our Asian markets were under pressure, right? So that is where the negative sentiment, the negativity for our Indian markets was coming from. But now going forward, if you look at the European peers, we look at the French market 0.5% up. You see the German markets DAX 0.58% up, but the UK markets once again they're not very sure where to go. The Asian markets are going all positive, but UK is going negative with a loss of 0.31%. So now this is where such markets are where uncertainty comes from. But the majority sentiment is positive. You look at the Dow futures here, again 0.4% up. If you look at yesterday's session, we look at the Nasdaq Composite, which goes by the ticker ICIC. If you look at that, we can see on 1 hour time frame. Yesterday, when we were talking about the markets, we already were at a life high. And in yesterday's session, once again, we saw a little pullback. And then once again, we are near its all time high levels of 24,100. If you look at the other US index, which is S&P 500, which goes by the ticker SPX, exactly same ditto rally is seen here as well. Same to same structure, copy paste, ekdam same. It was near its all-time high. We saw a pullback, and then we are at its life high levels once again near 7,041, 7,050. So broadly, the sentiment globally is positive. If we just avoid the Asian peers and if we not look at the UK market, then the overall sentiment is positive. So over the weekend, if everything goes well, if HDFC Bank and ICICI report their numbers in line with the estimates which are there, then I believe the rally for Nifty 50 would continue, and maybe we now that we have entered the range of 24,300 and 25,000, maybe by the end of this session we'll talk about the key levels to watch out for the next week, and maybe we'll see those levels coming up in the upcoming sessions, or maybe before the expiry on Tuesday. Ripadam.
Right, right. So let's now look at the sectors and then go in depth with the stocks.
Sure, let's quickly look at the top sectors today. We are seeing that FMCG was the top gainer today. Now, we talked about this yesterday as well. What was really going on with the FMCG already? We see that FMCG peers were already under pressure, and today's rally, there's nothing new that has happened. There's no news for FMCG stocks. It's pure underperformance and then a rally that now people are realizing that, okay, there are stocks, there are sectors that are now in the undervalued category. They've been falling for almost a month now. Near the valuations are corrected now. So now it's time to start buying and focusing on such sectors where the opportunity, like the stocks, are temporarily available below their actual worth in the markets right now. So this is the reason why we are selling, why we are seeing a good rally in FMCG. We saw a healthy rally in media and metals as well, and oil and gas also. So these are some of the top sectors that we have seen a rally. IT was under pressure because Wipro did not show very good results, right? We'll talk about Wipro's results shortly. Before that, let's quickly look at the top stocks for the day. The top gaining stocks here we can see from consumer durables, HUL. We talked about HUL in our previous session. We analyzed it and we came to a conclusion that HUL may be an undervalued opportunity. We not give a recommendation in HUL, but we did talk about HUL in our last session. Nestle, Maruti, Titan, Tech Mahindra, Power Grid, Adani Ports, these are some of the top stocks. And if you see Reliance Industries is among our today's recommendation as well. If you just log into ZBuy's Advisors app, you can just get access to all of our live recommendations which comes across throughout the day. So Reliance Industries was among our top recommendations. Maruti was also on our recommendation list, so we can very well go ahead and analyze all of these stocks as well. in the upcoming in this session going forward. Reproduce.
Got it, got it. Arjit, then let's come back to Nifty and look at the option chain and the levels for the next week.
Definitely. The option chain, again, it's becoming very interesting here. If we look at the OI that we have here, at the current strike price where we closed at around 24,366. So the strike price that comes down, that brings us to is 24,400. Now, what's interesting here is the call OI is higher than the put OI. But if you look at the PCR is at 0.41. And till now, if the viewers, if you are watching us for now, say even if 1 week, one thing might be clear in your head that PCR below zero point 0.5 indicates a positive rally coming in the markets. Another way to look at it, if you just want to look at the PCR directly, broader markets PCR, you don't want to dive into strike specific PCR, the broader market PCR stands at 1.02. Once again, 1.02 is exact middle. ना वो undervalued है ना वो overvalued है ना वो oversold है ना overbought है. We are standing in the middle exactly. So what happens over the weekend would really indicate around which way will the markets go. However, if you look at the OI build up here around the current strike price 24,400 and the lower ones, we are seeing that short covering is there. मतलब people are closing their short positions here, which means there might be case that we can see call prices for 24,300, 24,400, and the strike price below that. We see 24,200, 250, 300. All of these strike prices, call prices might give you a good 10-20% returns. 10-20% only if weekend goes very well, nothing new comes up, because over the past weekend we've seen that our Trump chacha, he goes on and he says something about any other country randomly. So if nothing goes wrong like that, then I believe we can see at least 10-20% rally in all of the call prices at these strike prices, because short covering is already there. And if you have any existing positions, say any of our viewers, you have any existing positions in out of the money call options, say you have something in 24,600 or 24,750, then the good news is that the long buildup is very strong in these strike prices right now. So maybe if on Monday, see the beautiful thing about OTM options is all of the OTM prices, they follow directly, they follow the future prices. So if something good happens and if Nifty future rises, even if 0.1%, even if there's nothing new happening in the market, it's just future price rising, your OTM options price would start rising automatically. Because deep in the money and deep out of the money prices, these strike price, they follow the futures directly. They do not care about what's happening or how the India VIX is doing. They only care about how the futures price is going. If futures is rising, these strike price will automatically give you good returns. And the more close to ATM, ATM is at the money. At the money, matlab the current active strike price, which in our case is 24,400. The closer you get to ATM, the more important it gets for you to analyze India VIX along with Nifty spot, along with Nifty futures, and of course you already have the Greeks of option Greeks that you already have. So these are some of the important things that you have to watch. To summarize what I just talked about, I know a lot of people might feel like it's a bouncer chala gaya. To summarize, we are seeing long build-up and short curving in the call prices. So the prices of your call options might rally or might give you good, decent returns in the upcoming days, given that everything good comes in your favor. Nothing bad happens, then you might see a good rally in the upcoming days before expiry Nifty.
Got it, Ajit. Ajit, before we wrap around this market session for this week, do you have anything else to add?
Yes, yes. I would like to like just give you a wrap around and a brief overview around the estimates of HDFC and ICICI Bank results. See, I know a lot of people, they might or might not know how to track results, or they might or might not know how to study the estimates. But it's our job to tell you as a research analyst. It's my duty to tell you guys कि अगर over the weekend if something is happening, or if maybe some companies maybe coming up with the results, what are the estimates, what do you have to expect from the results, right? So talking about HDFC Bank, so let's quickly load up the chart for HDFC Bank while we talk. Right. If you just load it on the other chart as well, right here, HDFC Bank, you already had the levels marked here, right? So before we get into technicals, let me just give you a conclusion around what you should expect from HDFC Bank. So all of the major companies that we talk about, non-banking companies, non-banking, non-financial companies, they have operational numbers, right? So their operational numbers, we calculate it as operating profit, the earning before interest, tax, and appreciation, depreciation. That is called operating profit in normal companies. But in banking stocks, financial companies, banking stocks, NBFCs, in these companies, there's these operational numbers. These are called net interest margin. That the net, yeah, the interest part, right? Because their main revenue is from the interest part. They give out loans, they get interest on it, and that is the main revenue. So their operational numbers is around all around the interest. So if you talk about the margins that we have, in normal companies we have operational margins, but in banks we have interest margins. So here we are expecting that HDFC Bank would most likely retain its previous margins at around 3.5, 3.3%. For a bank, net interest margin is very good. If you have same margin, it's very good. If you're increasing your margins, again, very good. Poor margins indicate that you're not doing very good job as a bank, right? Coming to net interest income, which is also the operational income for the bank, it is expected to grow by 5%, which is decent enough growth. The bad loan or bad assets are expected to remain steady throughout the quarter four, the results for which are coming in. The net non-performing assets or NPAs. Now these are pegged at 1.2% or 0.4% of its total loan respectively, which once again is a good number. It's not very bad. What we have to watch from here, technically, if all of these numbers are met, if these estimates are met, the net interest income and interest margin, if everything comes very well, we can see HDFC Bank hitting all of these two targets above us, which is 816 and 833, given that everything comes very well. If things do not come very well, maybe if the margins are lower, if the interest income is not a lot, in that case, we might see the levels of 769 and 750 coming up in HDFC Bank. Right? So this was about HDFC Bank. For ICICI banks as well, the expectations are similar. The net interest income is expected to grow barely at 3-4%. The profit after tax, again, we see maybe barely 4%, 5% increase there. And margins are also expected to be around the same levels of 3.5 to 3.2%. So if these numbers are met, if the estimates are met, or maybe if we get something better than estimates, then you can very well expect the broader market to do very well and to do justice with all of the numbers that we have the upcoming sessions in over the weekend in the Indian market.
Got it, Ajit. I hope let's hope for a good weekend and a happy weekend with no uncertainty and no news coming from Trump, so that we'll have a good session again Monday and onwards. Ajit, thank you so much for giving your time and explaining everything so in a simple manner. Let's reconnect on Monday 4 p.m.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Have a great evening.
Thank you.